The Exorcism of Emily Rose. It was based on true story. The film's roots reach back to Bavaria in the 1970s. Story of Anneliese Michel. She was born in 1952 in a Bavarian village. She grew up in a Catholic family where prayer was daily rhythm. Morning prayers, evening prayers, confession whenever guilt touched her heart. She was shy and quiet in school. Teachers called her serious. Classmates remembered her as polite. She studied hard. She dreamed of becoming a teacher herself. Her family's faith was deep. The crucifix hung on every wall. Mass was never missed. Her father had once considered priesthood. Her mother believed in suffering as redemption. Anneliese absorbed it all. She wanted to live as a good Catholic girl. She wanted to please God. But at 16, her body betrayed her. A sudden collapse at school. A seizure that left her shaking on the floor. Doctors said epilepsy. They gave her medication. The family hoped it would stop the attacks. It did not. The seizures returned. Blackouts, strange sensations, moments of paralysis. She could not explain what she felt. She only knew something was wrong. The medicine dulled her but never cured her. By 17, new shadows appeared. She saw faces where none stood. She heard whispers no one else could hear. At night, she woke with a crushing weight on her chest. She said something unseen was pressing her down. She struggled to breathe. She believed it was not illness. She believed something evil was touching her. The doctors said psychosis. They adjusted her medication, but her mind kept slipping further. Her diary entries changed. She no longer wrote of school and friends. She wrote of hell. She wrote that she was damned. She wrote that voices told her she would burn forever. By 18, she grew restless. She prayed constantly, hours on her knees until her skin broke. She confessed again and again. She believed every small fault made her guilty of sin. She feared she could never be forgiven. When she entered the church, she froze. She said the crucifix burned her eyes. She gagged on holy water. She could not take the Eucharist. Her mother saw her daughter change before her eyes. From gentle student to tormented soul. From faithful child to haunted young woman. The family grew desperate. Doctors spoke of illness. The mother whispered of possession. The father feared it too. They prayed louder. They begged God to save her. But the voices inside Anneliese only grew stronger. By 19, her friends avoided her. She muttered to herself in class. She screamed without warning. She tore rosaries apart with her bare hands. She lashed out at her sisters. She bit herself until her arms were bruised. At times, she barked like an animal. At times, she laughed with a voice that did not sound like her own. Her diary filled with frantic words. I am nothing. I am damned. I am afraid. She wrote that demons were inside her. She begged God for release. Her handwriting twisted into jagged lines. Every page felt like a plea. Food no longer nourished her. She said it smelled of burning. She said it tasted foul. She said the demons forbade her to eat. Her body grew thinner each month. Her skin turned pale. Her eyes sank deeper. The family turned again to the church. They begged the parish priest to visit. He came. He saw a young woman frail and broken. He heard her curse God in a guttural voice. He watched her thrash when holy water touched her skin. He left disturbed. He told the bishop what he had seen. The bishop said, wait. The church required proof. Possession was rare. Most cases were illness. Doctors must decide first. So the family went back to the doctors. They spoke of schizophrenia. They spoke of depression. They prescribed more pills, but the pills did nothing. The seizures continued. The voices screamed louder. By 22, she looked wasted. Her once round face was sharp with bone. Her voice broke into whispers or into growls. She told her mother that demons controlled her. She told her sisters that she was beyond saving. She told her friends that she saw hell all around her. The local priest returned. He saw her writhe when prayers were spoken. He heard her speak in different voices. He read her diary filled with torment. He became convinced. He wrote to the bishop. He pleaded for permission to begin the rite of exorcism. Months passed. The bishop reviewed. He listened to the reports. He studied the case. Finally, he agreed. The exorcism would be allowed. 2 priests were chosen, Father Ernst Alt, Father Arnold Rentz. They would confront whatever lived inside her. Anneliese knew they were coming. She said the demons would fight. She said they would never leave willingly. She believed her suffering was punishment for the sins of others. She accepted it as her fate. Her body was weak. Her mind was splintered. Her faith remained. The priests prepared their books, their water, their crucifixes. The family prepared their home. The first session was about to begin, and with it a battle that would stretch across months of screams, prayers, and tapes that still chill the ears today. September 1975. The priests arrived at the Michel home. They carried the Raman ritual. They carried crucifixes and holy water. They carried the weight of centuries of belief. Anneliese waited. Her body was frail. Her eyes were hollow. She said the demons would resist. She said they would never let her go. The first session began with prayers. The priests commanded in Latin. Her voice answered in growls. It did not sound like her. It sounded layered. It sounded ancient. She cursed in words she should not have known. She screamed at the crucifix. She spat at the holy water. Her family held her arms to stop her from breaking herself. The ritual repeated week after week. 1 session, then another. By the end, there would be 67, each lasting hours, each filled with screams that neighbors claimed they could hear outside. Her voice shifted without warning, sometimes high and desperate, sometimes guttural and mocking. She named names. She said Judas was inside her. She said Lucifer was inside her. The priests recorded the words. The tapes still exist. Listening to them feels like standing in the room. Her strength was unnatural at times. Thin body but sudden force. She had to be restrained. She snapped rosaries with her teeth. She tore pieces of her clothes. She slammed her head against the wall. Her knees bled from collapsing in prayer postures again and again. The priests commanded the demons to depart. They invoked Christ. They invoked the Virgin Mary. They pressed the crucifix to her skin. She screamed at its touch. She laughed when the prayers grew longer. She mocked the priests with twisted smiles. Between sessions, her condition worsened. She ate little. She said food was forbidden. She drank almost nothing. Her weight dropped quickly. Her face looked skeletal. Her lips cracked. Her teeth broke. Her hands curled into claws. Her body looked decades older than her 23 years. She believed she was chosen to suffer. She told her family she bore the pain for others. She prayed even as she writhed in agony. She begged God to forgive sinners. She begged her parents not to give up. The sessions left the priests exhausted. They wiped sweat from their brows. They listened to voices that claimed to be legions. They fought with prayers, crosses, and faith alone. They believed resistance meant progress. They told the family the fight was nearing its end. But the fight never ended. The voices returned stronger. The visions tormented her nightly. She saw hellfire. She saw demons at the foot of her bed. She said they mocked her when she tried to pray. She said they laughed at the priests. Spring turned to summer. Her health collapsed. She could not walk without help. She crawled on all fours. She licked the floor. She ate insects in her delirium. Her body was breaking down, yet the priests continued. The family continued. The sessions continued. The tapes captured it all. The growls, the screams, the voices layered inside one girl. By June 1976, she looked like a shadow. She weighed less than 70 pounds. Her eyes looked sunken and hollow. Her skin clung to bone. Her breathing grew ragged. Still, she prayed. Still, she asked for the exorcisms to continue. She believed it was the only path to freedom. On July 1st, 1976, the ritual ended in silence. Anneliese Michel lay dead in her bed. Her mother found her lifeless body. She was 23. The fight had consumed her completely. The house fell quiet. The priests were stunned. The family was broken. The church would not be able to hide what had happened. The doctors would not be able to ignore it. The state would soon demand answers. The exorcism had left behind 67 tapes, photographs of a wasted body, and the question that divided medicine, faith, and law: was she possessed? Or was she abandoned by science? The morning of July 1st, 1976, the house was quiet. Anneliese lay in her bed. Her lips were cracked. Her bones pressed against her skin. Her hands were clenched like claws. Her mother shook her. There was no response. She was 23. She weighed only 68 pounds. The autopsy said malnutrition. The autopsy said dehydration. Her body had been starved until it gave out. Her brain showed damage from years of seizures. Her knees were raw from prayer. Her teeth were broken. Her skin was bruised. The report looked clinical. The reality looked medieval. Her parents called the priest. The priest called the bishop. The bishop called the authorities. The state took notice. A young woman had died under the care of priests. She had died while 67 exorcisms were performed. The story could not be buried. An investigation began. The tapes were examined. The photographs were shown. The doctors testified that she had epilepsy and psychosis. They said the exorcisms replaced medical care. They said she could have survived with proper treatment. The prosecutors built their case. They charged her parents. They charged the two priests. The charge was negligent homicide. The trial began in 1978. The courtroom filled with tension. The defense said she was possessed. They said she had begged for the exorcisms. They said she had chosen to endure suffering as a form of redemption. The prosecution said she was mentally ill. They said she was denied medical care. They said the priests and parents let her starve to death. The tapes were played in court. Voices growled through the speakers. The jury heard the guttural tones. They heard the priests commanding the demons to leave. They heard Anneliese screaming for release. The tapes chilled everyone in the room. Doctors took the stand. They spoke of epilepsy. They spoke of psychosis. They explained hallucinations. They said the voices were symptoms. They said the strength was adrenaline. They said the refusal to eat was delusion. The church could not accept this explanation. The trial stretched on. Witnesses gave testimony. Neighbors spoke of screams from the house. Friends spoke of her decline. Her family spoke of her faith. The priests spoke of their duty. The verdict came in April 1978. Guilty. The parents and priests were convicted of negligent homicide. But the law said intentions did not erase responsibility. The church distanced itself. The priests carried the weight for life. The parents carried the grief until their deaths. The case became infamous. It was studied in law schools. It was studied in theology. It was studied in medicine. It was a collision of belief and science. Germany was shaken. The story spread through Europe. The tapes leaked. They circulated in whispers. People listened to the voice of Anneliese Michel. Some heard illness. Some heard demons. No one heard peace. The verdict ended the trial. It did not end the debate. The world split into two camps. One side said it was illness. The other side said it was possession. Both sides used Anneliese as proof. Her parents never accepted the medical explanation. They said their daughter had chosen suffering. They said she offered herself as a sacrifice. They believed she died to save others. Her grave became a site of pilgrimage. People knelt before the stone. They left flowers. They prayed for miracles. They believed she was a martyr. The church grew cautious. Exorcisms became rare. Guidelines tightened. Every case was questioned twice. Rome feared another scandal. The story of Anneliese Michel made bishops hesitate before granting permission again. The medical world saw something different. They saw a tragic failure of care. They said epilepsy explained much. They said psychosis explained the rest. They pointed to the medications. They pointed to the hallucinations. They pointed to the starvation. They said the priests had replaced science with superstition. For them, this was not a story of demons. This was a story of negligence. The tapes became legend. They were passed from hand to hand. They were played in dark rooms. The growls shook listeners. The voices chilled the blood. Even skeptics felt uneasy, because the sound of suffering is never easy to explain away. Films followed. The Exorcist had already haunted theaters in 1973, but The Exorcism of Emily Rose in 2005 drew directly from her case. It showed the courtroom. It showed the girl's torment. It forced the audience to choose between faith and science. The film blurred the line, just as the real story had blurred it. The legacy remained heavy in Germany. The Michel family never recovered. The priests carried the guilt until death. The bishop lived with the decision he had signed. The community whispered about the girl who screamed at night. Even decades later, her name carried a shadow. The grave still draws visitors. Some come in faith, some come in curiosity, some come in fear. All leave unsettled because her story resists closure. What was she? A devout Catholic who fell into mental illness, a patient failed by medicine, a victim of her parents' belief, or a true case of possession that ended in tragedy? The answer depends on who you ask. The body lies silent. The tapes keep speaking. Her story is retold because it touches every nerve. Faith, fear, science, law. It is a mirror. It forces each listener to decide what they believe. The church says the ritual was necessary. The doctors say it was deadly. The law says it was negligent. The family says it was sacrifice. The truth sits somewhere no one can reach. What remains is the image. A young woman wasting away in her bed. Her mouth open in a scream. Her eyes filled with terror. Her voice caught between human and inhuman. Her parents clutching rosaries. Her priests chanting prayers. A battle no one could see, but everyone could hear. Her story lingers because it feels unfinished. The grave is full. The questions are not. And in every retelling, the air grows colder.